Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win, like lots of stems popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto, choose what I get to. Never lose move on the move, but it's simple. Never give up if we want it, then maybe we just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me is never the
Welcome in. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to Divots and Pivots. That's right, Divots and Pivots presented by Acorn Hills. Get on over to acornhillco.com. Use discount code TBFY. Get 15% off your order and check out their latest collection. They are coming out a few times.
All right, I'm going to cut you off right there. It's two things real quick, Andrew. It's TBFY 15.
Oh, you got to have the 15th yet. I'm sorry.
Was I the only one who heard that, like, choppy?
That's coming from you, I think. You're very choppy. I can't hear you.
Okay. Before I'll be back.
Okay, he's gonna be back. He's gonna figure out the technical issues. I think it looks like maybe he's trying out a new mic or something. Oh, maybe he's not leaving. I don't know what he's doing. But anyways, yeah, get over to acornhillco.com. TBFY15 as Bud just that did come through. He corrected me. Get over there, use that for 15% off. New collection. And if you didn't know, the greatest thing about Nate and what they're doing over there at Acorn Hills, every tag is a seed line tag. That means when you're done, you cut it off the clothes, you throw it down in the dirt, rip it up, dig a little hole, put some water on it, and in a little bit you're going to get some wildflowers. So a fully biodegradable tag, first of its kind out there. So they're really changing the world over there. So give them all the love you can. And plus, the clothes look pretty damn good too. Myself, if I must say so myself. I know you have a bunch, but I got some as well. So we love what they're doing over there at Acorn Hills. And it looks like Bud's still working on his sound over here. So you know what? I'm gonna throw a pivot in here and hit us with this. Since it seems like we need to kill 40 seconds, I'm going to quickly, 40 seconds while Bud gets his stuff going. For those of you who are out there complaining about Taylor Swift being booed at the Super Bowl, can you get your panties out of a bunch and just be done with that? Because let's be honest, she took it like a champ. When you inject yourself into football culture as a fan of a team, that comes with the territory. They weren't booing her as a person. They weren't booing her as a singer or anything else other than being a Chiefs fan. It wasn't personal. Can we all please stop like someone was, burning down a cross in a Catholic church? Like, it wasn't a big deal. She got booed and she took it like a champ, and that was okay. So please stop like she's being attacked by the world. She chose to be a Chiefs fan, and guess what? Eagles fans have every right to boo her. Get over it. It's just part of life.
Shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Well done.
Are you good, Bud?
Oh, well done.
Thank you, sir. I think we have you now. It sounds like you're good. Yo, right back at you, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights.
I totally disagree. I know we were here earlier.
Oh,
there's all shit coming her way.
This is a mess, dude. It's not. Something's going on tonight. Try again.
She deserved it.
Nope, dude, you're still choppy as hell. I don't know. Maybe it's my internet. I don't know, but we are very choppy. Am I choppy to you?
No, not anymore. You pissed me off.
Oh, I pissed you off. Okay, cool. I pissed Bud off. It's a good show now. When me and Bud get along too much and agree too much, no one wants to watch that. So they want to see us crash and burn with technology issues. They want to see me piss Bud off. And the thing is, I know when Bud gets back here, he has a thought he wants to get out. So we're gonna be all ears when that comes. And I promise it's gonna be good because that's gonna keep me off the mic so I don't make any dumb dad jokes like last week. But that's just me. You take me for what I am. I'm a dad and I love dad jokes. So I guess suck it up, buttercups. Anyways, let's give an update on the TGL though right now because the start at 7:00 tonight. Jupiter Lynx against New York. New York is absolutely demolishing Jupiter, 8-0 right now on the 9th hole. Both teams still have two hammers, and yes, that's right. If you haven't watched anything from yesterday, today or heard anything over the weekend about the new hammer rules in TGL, yes, they've changed it up, and we saw the immediate effect yesterday. We'll get into that when Bud gets back on. But now both teams have 3 hammers they can use whenever they want in the match. They have 3 each, and it has an amazing effect on it so far. Both teams still have 2 hammers tonight. We'll see if Jupiter can make a comeback, but honestly, I don't think I haven't done the math. I don't think that math's going to add up to really matter. I think they've already lost this. Jupiter Lynx might be the worst team so far in the TGL. I'm not sure that's too much of a stretch to say, but Jupiter Lynx really not a good showing tonight so far. Let's test this out, Bud. Let's say something.
Shout out to the StreamYard team.
Yes.
Whoever designed their like test your little audio. This is a test on your speakers.
Oh, right.
It's I kind of like it. Okay, so Taylor Swift, Sweezy completely deserves all the bullshit coming her way because there's people got receipts, right? Like she was out there flying her Philly flag and like wearing jerseys and shit. I give her a little bit of grace because that's the equivalent of like Noah Kahan. Every time he's in Kahan, he's not repping a Boston jersey everywhere he goes, even though he's a Boston fan, Vermont guy. You know, Morgan Wallen, you go to the local, whatever, you throw on the jersey. So maybe there was an element of that in there. I don't know. But no, I was just giving you a hard time. I genuinely, I generally agree with what you were saying. Like, like she took it like a champ. Welcome to the, and that's what you do. You laugh it off or shake it off. Well done. And you roll with it. The bigger picture is this. You really think that, I mean, it's not like, it's just sad. If that's the direction you're going, find something better to do with your time, because I guarantee goddamn to you, she doesn't care about what you're thinking or saying.
I saw people writing like 5 paragraphs on social media about it, like defending her, and shame on the NFL and shame on how people feel like they have the right to criticize. I'm like, what
you do?
Like, relax here, people. Just chill. Just chill.
Oh my, Philly fans booed me. Let's start a support group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about that, sports fans. Thanks for tuning in to Divots and Pivots. Yes, it's TBFY15 for 15% off. Make sure they know Bud sent you. Acorn Hill's been with us since the beginning. We've been with them since the beginning. What are you sipping on over there tonight? That seemed like a little more aristocratic than the normal Bud Heavy bottle that you're flaunting.
Little Valentine's Day gift that I received, a bottle of Angel's Envy, one of my favorite whiskeys. So, yeah, it's warming me up.
I'm not going to even comment about your hat.
Yeah, love it. That's all you got to say. I know you do.
Every time
you dream about it.
Out of nowhere, I was out in the garage, and in the fridge out there was a bottle of Mr. and Mrs. T's spicy Bloody Mary mix.
That's what I was wondering, if that's what you were drinking, a Bloody Mary.
Well, not a Bloody Mary. It's just the mix. And it goes back to childhood when, when Pops, we'd be on the golf course, 10, 11, 12 years old, and Pops would get a Bloody Mary, from the cart person, or at the turn, or before or after, or all the above. And I don't know where it started. I think it was actually on a plane with my mom. That was the only time I ever saw my mom drink vodka, was in a Bloody Mary on a plane. She would always drink Bloody Marys on a plane. And I think one time she just asked if I wanted to try the mix and the tomato juice, because I was like, oh, I want to try it. Spicy, salty. I loved it. And so it just kind of became a habit that when I would play golf with my dad, he would get a Bloody Mary, and I would just get a cup of Bloody Mary mix on ice. And then over the years, even in my stocking, my mom would always get a bottle of Bloody Mary mix, toss it in there. So it was just one of those things. I can't remember why I have this. I think it was because we hosted some folks on New Year's, and just in case New Year's morning, people wanted Bloody Marys, but no. So I decided to put it a little bit on ice, a little homage to Ma. It makes me think of my Pops. And so that's why I'm drinking this tonight.
There we go. Love it.
What did I miss in the early goings? Thanks for vamping for me. I appreciate that.
And,
and again, you're right. T Sweezy, let it, shake it off, do whatever you got to do.
Yeah. After that, I just quickly gave a rundown of how bad Jupiter Lynx is at this TGL's thing, getting smoked right now, 8-0 by New York on the 9th hole. Although someone did just throw the hammer. Let me see who it is.
Gives a shit.
Well, I mean, we're gonna get into this, what happened yesterday more. Jupiter Lynx did throw the hammer here, so we'll see what happens. Looks like hammer was accepted, so we'll see. Yeah, no, because we'll get into the TGL after, because I know you want to start off on a thought, but
I lost the thought. Now we're already into this. But did you are you a hockey guy? Am I just is my not from around here showing when I ask that question?
Yeah, I'm a hockey guy. Northeasterner, you know, we all hockey guys.
So the Bean Cup, come on, bro.
I mean, hey, the Bean Cup
Was
is
it the
legit,
Bean
but
Cup or the Bean Pot? What the fuck is it?
it's the Bean Pot, yeah, not the
Bean
Bean
Pot.
Cup.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't at me, bros. Um, did you watch? Did you watch the Four Nations? Yeah.
Hell yeah! So that USA Canada game, that's what everyone's been talking about, obviously, because 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, setting a tone. That game itself, as well, even outside of that, was just fantastic hockey. Because we are actually seeing because this is replacing the All-Star break now, or at least for this year it is. We'll see what they do going forward, but we're seeing legit All-Star teams just actually take it serious and play it, and it's so nice to see international hockey. These guys turn on a different switch when they're wearing that sweater for their country. And yeah, this has been a massive success for the NHL. It's putting every other league and sports, quote unquote, all-star week to shame right now. I love it. Can't wait to see tomorrow night USA Canada for the championship in TD Garden. The other day when I checked, did you see this? I was curious. I want to see like what ticket prices are going for.
I was thinking about this the other day. Yeah.
Just not that I was going to go or anything, but I was curious. And on Sunday, the get in price for section 315, row 15, like the nosebleeds up against the wall, was $1,300. $1,300 for nosebleeds. And now this is the day before or 2 days before now. I guarantee the get in price is probably a little bit more at this point.
So was this match, was this the first time in like 10 years that USA Canada, the big boys, have played?
No, I don't think so.
I read that somewhere that this was the first time, because there was the NHL ban on the players playing in the Olympics for a little while.
Oh, I guess that's true,
and so really, if you want to talk about the last time our guys really laced it up, it was like it was like 2014. It was like, I think it was the 2014 Vancouver Olympics or whatever the hell it was, and it was gold medal. It was one of the last times I remember fully watching a hockey match, because that
actually,
was
you might be. Yeah, I think you're actually right. I'm sorry. I think that is right. I forgot about the ban on the top players going to the Olympics.
And so I think this is the first time, like since like again 2014, that like the big boys have gone head to head. And in the interim, the Team USA hockey program has been stacking up some World Junior victories. Slowly building that. And then this just kind of hockey bro culture that is kind of infiltrated elsewhere. I blame hockey and lacrosse for it. Not blame, kind of credit them.
Lacrosse is part of it too, yes.
It's given this little bit of an edge, just a little bit of a swagger. I think, kind of like the disregard for what we're supposed to feel versus how confident we feel now. And I mean, if we lose in a couple nights, it's all for naught. Nobody cares about pool play. Everybody wants to know when all the chips are on the board. Right. Who's going to show up. I mean, I think that even if we lose, you're going to have hockey bros south of the border chirping and chirping and chirping no matter what, because that was a pretty solid ass whooping front to back. And I dug the whole fights at the beginning. I thought it was dope. Twitter and everybody blew up, and you were right. That's kind of what one of my first questions was leading us there, which is, so they figured out how to take their all-star weekend, all-star break, and reimagine it in a way that means something. And for the players, which then goes out and means something for the fans. Because obviously, as we've seen with Live and some other areas, if the fans aren't really buying, like if there's not a lot at stake, that bleeds through. We don't give a shit about your paycheck anymore. And that shows,
you play with purpose and passion. That's what fans want to see in any sport.
Yeah, and I mean, at least with Major League Baseball for a while, they had something with that home field advantage. I guess you could claim, right? You could claim that like at least that had something to it. But then 2017 they take that away, and now it's back to like, does anybody really tune in? Do we really give a shit? The Pro Bowl and the NBA are basically both skills challenges followed by a scrimmage, like a snooze fest. And so
Pro Bowl's just a flag football game now, so.
And so how did the NHL crack the code? You said it. These guys, when they put on that sweater, they found whatever really, really is something that you can't put a price tag on, which is representing your country. And somebody said right there when you set that up, it's like, how much corruption there is in Olympics. Fuck off. So especially in the sport like hockey, where it's Canada's national sport, but then there's so much talent. Then don't even be started about how the Russians aren't in it right now. And what that, those fucking lines would look like, whatever. Back to the
Right.
point, this is a golf show. And so NHL cracked the code. They figured it out. What do these guys care about? I mean, basketball could do it very easily. They could do USA versus the world. There's your
It would
all-star.
have to be the world because there's just not enough.
Yeah, no. I
talent
mean,
in
that's
one-
but there is a big enough talent pool globally that
right.
You take those Olympic teams that kind of gave our guys, which I cannot wait. I haven't watched the new Netflix documentary on that Paris Olympic gold.
Oh yeah.
Apparently it's dope. I just love the quote that's come floating out there from KD, where the other teams are talking about how we've been playing together for 10 years. We have chemistry. He's like, oh, really? That chemistry going to help you when you have to guard Steph? And then that followed by what actually happened with Steph.
Right.
It's just mind blowing. You can't write this shit.
No.
And so USA versus the world in basketball, that would do it. I think USA versus the world in baseball might have done it a while ago, but now we'd get our asses handed to us and we might need a little help. You might have to have a little 4 nations kind of tournament in MLB, kind of do this model, because it has to mean something. Sports has to be genuine. The reason professional sports grew is because you had to, just bragging rights wasn't enough. Bragging rights doesn't pay the bills. And so slowly but surely introduce prize purses and they grow, et cetera, et cetera. And then what we learned with this experiment, that growth no longer means money because we've become numb to it. There's an acceptance that these people that are on TV, it's like they just live different lifestyles. They live different worlds if they're at that level. Yeah, I get that there's a bunch of grinders out there trying to make it, but that's all of us in life. I can identify with the grinders, but I aspire to what I'm seeing on TV. And so when we say, and that's why NHL is going to get it. They got it. They got their best of the best organized in a manner. And that's all we're talking about. I mean, play the game and restructure the organization of it in a manner that really got the players going. It tapped into the fans. Great. In golf, this has been the big chirp. We want the best players together every week. We want the best going. And I'm going to call bullshit on everybody who says that and claims that that's what we want. We want the best of the best of the best every week, all week. Do we? Because then do the majors mean anything anymore? Because we already have the best fields every week, week in and week out. It doesn't mean that all this change that has been going on isn't good. It's been great. It's been necessary. Again, I think what Liv helped us uncover was the weakness that was the whole fulcrum tipping this, which was individual media rights and these players catching up. It's like workers' rights, knowing and understanding their value to the overall picture, and how, of course, together they would be stronger. But since the structure is such that it's not going to reward, it would take a miracle to get 125 guys at that level together. These guys decided to cash in, get their money while they could. And maybe this will be a new way forward, an alternative venue and format. We'll see when all these contracts go up, how many guys are going to be re-upping with Liv who don't have equity in their teams or maybe ownership stakes. How much of that talent sticking around? We already saw it with, I think it was Eugenico Chikara, the guy from Oklahoma State, when John Rahm was like, Liv better, PGA Tour better wisen up. Liv's going to go get the college talent. Check it out. We got this guy. 3 years later, he said, I'm out. I'm going to go back to the DP World Tour. I'm going to try my hand there. Liv didn't follow through on their promises, et cetera, et cetera. And so what these guys play for in professional golf, what's going to fix all this is not necessarily going to be a reunification and then having the top 25 together every week. We are going to have to restructure this. I think we might have to have tiers where, there's a revolving top 25 throughout the season, and there's relegation, and there you go. You have your signature events and the main events and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can figure out what those requirements and demands are, but that's just what's going to entice the talent to stick around, on your respective tours. Liv doesn't have that. They can't offer anything like that. They're going to be an interesting growth opportunity, maybe like in Australia, where they finally had 2 million people on TV watching through their local channels and streaming. And, Adelaide just announced that they're going to do a 7-year deal, et cetera, et cetera. Cool. Maybe that's a growth opportunity for them, because quite frankly, it's a pain in the ass to get down to Australia. And so
and that's been their playground so far. They've been their one spot where it's massive success.
It's just bangers every year. Yeah. So cool. Maybe that, and then they're able to carve out some space in the Asian tours where, okay, this is our little playground of growth, because I'll tell you what, it's just they're not going to really compete anymore for our local talent. And you see, I mentioned that college kid, Chikara, who ended up going and coming back. look at Miles Russell. All right. So Blades Brown, if you're not following golf, Blades Brown, and we're gonna get to TGL. Blades Brown is the 17, soon to be 18-year-old kid who's playing again, I think this week down in Mexico on a sponsorship exemption. He decided to turn pro, say, this is going to be my life. I want to go ahead and get on the job training. Once he's 18, then he can actually kind of start accumulating points and get his card and whatnot, because you have to be a legal adult to be a member of the PGA Tour. So he's going to go pro. We've locked that kid in. He's already locked in. And it's not like if all of a sudden he doesn't make it, his stock is not going to rise to where Liv's going to come calling. So he's all in. We've got him.
Exactly.
We lost, Thomas McKibben. We talked about the Northern Irishman or Irishman. I can't remember where he's from. Don't at me, bro. But he signed with Liv after earning his card through the DP World Tour Alliance kind of pact.
Yeah, he was one of those top 10 or top whatever that got it.
But Miles Russell is an interesting case study too. Miles is 16. I think he is 16 going.
Yeah, Blades Brown confirmed. Blades Brown is playing this week. Yes.
Yeah. So Miles won on the AJGA tour. That's the American Junior Golf Association, for those of you new to the show. And that's kind of I'd say that's like, how in basketball, there's the AAU circuit that kind of plays as like the juniors playground. AJGA is where the future pros play. You can quote me on that. And so Miles won, and he won one of their signature events. It's like the oldest running event. And it's a pretty prestigious event. And in the interviews with his pops, they're talking about his future. Is he going to go pro the way that Blades Brown did? And he said no. He's like, that's not in the cards. I would have bet $1 million that's the new model. Everybody's going to do it. But he said he's going to try the PGA Tour U accelerated program, because that's the partnership that they have with the NCAA, which is exactly what I said. This was the smartest move they made. And when they did it 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, it was directly in response to Liv, and trying to entice these players and get these. And I even said, I was like, keep your eye on this. It's Augusta National. They're going to offer probably an exemption to the NCAA champ again. Yeah. And then you have this PGA Tour partnership with the NCAA to offer a pathway. So far, Miles has said the father, and they said that's the route we're going to go. They're going to find he's going to go to Tennessee or Bama or Arizona State.
Is that similar to like in baseball, where like a kid will get drafted in high school and then still go to college, but he's technically like, I know not the rights, it's not the same as far as the contract goes, but but he's still getting some benefits from being part of like drafted by an MLB organization while he's in college, kind of thing.
That's not a bad analogy or a parallel to where if you're playing in for an NCAA program, then you can earn points that you can then cash in over here in the PGA Tour, but nowhere else. Yeah, kind of like if you get drafted by the MLB, you can go back to college, but we might own your playing rights, meaning you're not going to go anywhere else. Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, so it's similar to that, where that's what they're gonna. That's the route.
There's incentive to stay or to do it a certain way.
Yeah, and they get incentives through winning on college or winning on their college, in their college events, placing in these PGA Tour events that they get opportunities to go to. Winning the U.S. Amateur is a huge one, that kind of stuff. Right. And it goes back to, so Miles Russell is probably the future in that. Keep your eye on that kid, lefty, love him. And he can't be, hi, Jeffrey. My middle name is Jeffrey, government at least. And so I guess in June he can start legally talking to colleges, and so that's when his recruiting will actually pick up a little bit. So that's why we don't know where he's going to go yet, as opposed to like football, where you get 5th graders who are 6'2" getting offers from Bama,
or that kid who was like a 6-month-old and like already like 40 pounds, whatever it was, in colleges are claiming him on social media.
And so that is where and how the PGA Tour is pretty much shored up this game on talent. You can get such a massive net to toss when you talk about colleges, because not only domestically, internationally, Victor Hovland, these guys come over because that's where they can get their foot on American soil, which is where the PGA Tour is, which proximity, you can get a little more exposure, et cetera, and obviously opportunity now. So that, we've pretty much tightened up the recruitment game. We're going to keep all the fresh talent that we can. Liv is going to snag 1 or 2. And is it working? Yeah, I'd say so, because the first graduate of that PGA Tour U program was one Ludwig Oberg. So he went Texas Tech, gets his points, boom, goes pro, wins Ryder Cup, etc. ad nauseum, ad infinitum. You're going to see that swing for the next 20 years. That smile, that fist pump.
Day yesterday.
Boom. And so Michael Bjornsson, he was the next one. He's going to be a name you're going to want to watch down in Mexico this week. He's the 10-finger grip. He has a baseball grip. He does 10-finger, no overlap or anything. It's kind of disorienting to see for the first time. He's a Stanford guy.
I've every now and then I've tried it at like the range, and it's very strange.
Well, there's a reason that Ben Hogan and Harry Vardon and Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus hold a golf club a certain way.
Right.
I think there's rules and there's exceptions. And another one of those kind of exceptions would be Gordon Sargent, Vanderbilt guy. He too has his card through the PGA Tour U program, but he elected to go back for his senior year. And now you got Luke Clanton from Florida State, who's on the cusp of being the next one to clinch it. He's got a couple of runner-up in the PGA. So you've got all of this fucking opportunity and all of this runway to keep the talent in-house. But what we saw from Liv and what really shook this up and what really is going to be, how do you figure this out moving forward, was about the individuals, keeping your all-stars happy. It's one thing if you have a solid recruiting program and everything's about the future of this program, this, that, and the other. If that's all you talk about, your juniors and seniors are going to start getting pissed off and they're going to start looking at that transfer portal. So, that's when the brainchild came up of, okay, well, is Liv going to be the alternative? No, because there's so many other reasons, whether it was travel or it was too new, it was this, that, and the other. No, I don't think it was new enough, because here comes TGL. And I go back to the original point of all this when Phil brought it up. And then I say Tiger kind of agreed with him, but he did it in a more tactful way. Phil was flipping off about media rights, how they own us and we can't do this and we can't. And
he's not wrong. Like he's not wrong. All the points were legitimate gripes.
But because it was all under the old model, kind of like NFL Films owns every second of footage, and the players the players get paid, they get compensated for that, and they give it up too, because unlike golf, those players are part of a team. So there's layers of differentiation, or there's a layers of
they get recompensated in other ways, benefits, things like that.
Right. These golfers who genuinely are independent contractors, whatever, when these deals were all negotiated and thought of, the idea of having single stream Billy Fax and Billy Andre when they did play golf. I love that. The guys, the thoughts of like Jack Nicklaus having his own independent channel on TV that you could turn to watch, every shot. It was not that wasn't happening. No. That wasn't even a fee. So what we're dealing with now, everybody having their own channel, everybody, the ability, that was the big kind of disruptor. And I think we're seeing that with the emergence of YouTube golf and the future of the game for this little one right here. Say hi, Cooper. So that's Cooper Rose. She is she's just a handicap at this point. Love you, babe. And so everybody having their own independent kind of media streams. That's the way forward to where a guy like Miles Russell, if he all of a sudden leans into a YouTube channel and becomes Grant Horvath, what is the incentive anyway for him to maybe even go pro, unless he really does want to compete and win trophies and then that and the other. So when Phil said it's about our media rights, and Tiger was saying like, yeah, he's kind of got a point there. That's what we're going to have to figure out. In the new PGI Tour Enterprises, they gave equity, great step in the right direction. But media deals moving forward are going to be all about these eyeballs, because that's what it means. When they say we want the best of the best together all the time, that's not what they mean. They want the most eyeballs together. And the only problem with taking Grant Horvath, a +6 or whatever, and just snatching him out and dropping him right into a major is because he is not a +6 at that tour, at that level. His +6 is tried and true and tested on the courses that he played under money games and whatnot. That's all true.
He's still a fantastic golfer,
he would admit that too.
Well, and that came up recently. I don't know if you saw the clip, but
him and Phil.
No, but so Garrett Clark from Good, Brad Dahlke from Good. Now Brad Dahlke, a college winner on the NCAA. He has a championship. He made it into the Masters. He played in the Masters, and I forget what year it was, maybe like 2020 or something like that. But Brad Dahlke part of that, and there's a clip of Garrett Clark asking Brad in the golf cart, like, just basically saying, "I want you to be brutally honest with me. Like, I want to know how far away am I from like being able to play on the PGA Tour." And Brad told him, he said, like, to be honest, you're pretty far. But Garrett said, no, that's what I thought. That's what I knew. But like, I wanted to hear it. Like, and that is just the case. Like these YouTube golfers, they have the eyes and yeah, they're really good golfers. And Brad even said it. He's like, you're in like the top 2% of golfers. But the PGA Tour is like
Oh, it's the top 0.0001%.
Exactly. It's borderline less than zero, but like, you know what I mean? They're just on their own plane, their own level, their own category. And that's what it like. YouTube golf is going to be good for what it is, but like you're saying, like, sure, Miles can go and do that, but Miles still has the talent to play on the PGA Tour. So maybe he is the first one to do both.
Speaking of talented guys, our buddy Nate from Acorn Hills has been so gracious and kind as to send us a message to share with you all this evening. And then I found Brad Daltke's information real quick. We'll come back to Brad.
Okay. Oh, you're teaming up.
I was.
I thought you had like a live message. You teed that up like you had a text message. Okay, I got you. Here we go. Acorn Hills.
Well, guys, today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Acorn Hills. Now, this is not your average apparel company. In fact, this is a purpose-driven brand. Now, is the material super soft? Yes. Do the clothes fit great? Absolutely. But this company was founded on something much bigger than just making high-quality product. They wanted to make an impact on the environment. And that's exactly what Acorn Hills has done. I've been really impressed with not only the quality of their material, quality of their product, but also their mission. Every single product that's sold is sold with a tearaway seed paper tag. That means you take the tag off of your clothes and you can actually go plant it in the ground and trees grow out of it, which is remarkable. So not only are you getting a high quality product, but you're also giving back to the environment, giving back to the earth. Now, you've probably seen this company all over social media, lots of other places as well. They've even been featured on the Weather Channel, guys, the Weather Channel. So go check out Acorn Hills if you're looking for some high quality product, high quality gear, but you're also wanting to make an impact on the environment. Cheers.
That's the real message that Acorn Hills had for us. I thought I was gonna sneeze. Real fast before we get back to Brad, before we get back to the rest of the topics, quick update on the TGL. I'm not gonna say storming back for Jupiter Links, but it is now
not dead yet.
It is now 9-3, so they're not being shut out. At least they did win a hammer point to end the triples round, and then they won one of the singles rounds. But New York just took the last singles round, so it looks like they are on hole 3 of the singles. They got
11 overall in the 15. And you got to say, New York, they started 0-2. They needed. I mean, they needed this. So Jupiter, you're bagging on them a little bit, and I think fair enough. I think really it's because Kisner. Like, how long will a personality? Well, how long will a personality justify your space on the team? So Brad Dalke, real quick, Oklahoma Sooners, Boomer Sooner. He NCAA champ. He was the U.S. amateur runner-up, and that's how he got that invite to the Masters. Back to TGL. So you bring up a good point. TGL just being actually, you don't bring up a good point. You just brought up TGL, so thank you for that. Because TGL.
Oh man, give me something.
Well, TGL is going to TGL. So when all the cards were kind of out there, we knew what we were dealing with. Disruption had happened, and then we then we found out about this partnership between Rory and Tiger, and there's this. This opportunity here to do something new, leverage both of our popularities, all of our influence, et cetera, et cetera. And it's interesting because you see the people who went in with Liv and Greg Norman, and it was Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, pre-Bryson, what we have now. Bryson, Bubba Watson, Phil Mickelson, and I would say Phil and Bryson were the two. No, sorry. Phil and Bubba were the two kind of poppy, like, oh my God, look at those like really kind of golfers of the people brands. And more so, Brooks just had a good fan following, like, bros like myself who just appreciated the golf. And then Bryson has developed he's exploded. He's kind of been, that is what I think what people are going to kind of try to reach for. And we see it over in other sports with NIL deals and their social media presence. And that's just going to keep growing in the game of golf, where again, Miles Russell, it's like the Saudis can say, hey, here's 20 million, kid. That's more than you'll ever see, guaranteed. It's a tough game. Yeah. He could be like, or I'm going to get 5 million from the NIL, compact at this school. And then I'm going to be getting another couple 100,000 from TaylorMade. So they're going to be able to piece together these different lives. Great, grand, wonderful. We're all here. We're all playing. So TGL is going to bridge the gap in a couple of ways. It's going to take these top tier golfers. They got winners for the most part. You have names that have either pedigree or promise. And because I put like Sahith Theegala, he's not exactly you know, a
Mhm.
proven winner,
He's
but
not
he's been
there yet, but
he's had those moments where you want to
Mhm.
believe. He had the PGA Tour, you know, brush of greatness. He had a couple other close letdowns. He's got the family story. He's got the
yeah,
complete
he's got the
package.
full swing time and like all that. Yeah.
This is not just about getting the best golfers together every week, week in, week out. It's about getting the most eyeballs, telling the most compelling story. This is a
Mhm.
television program at the end of the day, or it's a product. It's not what the original thing was, which was, you know, send us your best golfer, we'll crown the best golfer. And that was the challenge belt back with, you know, the original Open Championship. And even then, it wasn't necessarily about finding the best golfer. It was so that the clubs, because the invitation didn't go out to the individuals, it went out to the clubs. Hey, send us your best golfers. Because it wasn't necessarily about the person, it was about the bragging rights. We host the best golfers. And that's what we're doing today. The PGA Tour, we have the best golfers. Live, we have the best golfers. And shut up, Live. I mean, anyways, so so when you so in the modern times when we're talking about how do you bridge that gap, how do you keep the compelling storytellers, how do you keep the eyeballs in one place? Well, shit, Ludwig Oberg wins on Sunday, fist pump, Torrey Pines, Tiger Woods, the hug, you know,
Yep.
the whole bit. And then I turn over 24 hours later and there he is smiling on TV primetime golf. That's when it fucking hit me. I'm like, they've done it. They've cracked the code. They've captured our
Yeah.
attention, you know, Sunday to Wednesday now, because, you know, TGL on Monday and Tuesday, and we knew this was coming. So great. We've got the tour stars happy. The next evolution, the next step of this is going to be to take the Grant Horvaths, to take those Brad
Mhm.
Dalkeys, who Brad probably could have gone. Brad's probably like a Stu Hagstead, where it's like, I was a world-class amateur golfer and college golfer, but these are different organisms that we're dealing with. So maybe TGL now goes and it becomes a handicapped league where they can't necessarily shell out the kind of money to keep it nothing but top tier talent. So these teams evolve into kind of pros and Joes type of deal where, you
Mhm.
know, each one's going to have 2 and 2, or, you know, 3 and 2, and you have to play 3, you know, 4 and 2 or whatever it is. And you have to play 3 pros or 2 pros and 1 Joe every week, whatever it might be, because then you're going to bring in, you know, like I said, the guys from Good, you know,
Well,
who
they already own a piece of LA now, so
Fat Perez ends up on somebody's
Mhm.
roster, you know, and so it just can grow from there. And this is where it's all going to evolve, because what Liv failed to understand, but what Phil was pushing
Mhm.
was the leverage and the power of the individual athlete in the
Right.
future, like moving forward, where, you know, you go out to YouTube right now. You got 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds trying to start out the way that Grant and some of those other Garrett McCormick,
Yeah.
some of those guys.
Because you can see a visible path to being a professional golfer, but, you know, quote, unquote, "in a different form of professional
Mhm.
golf." It doesn't mean tournament golf,
Yeah.
but you can make a living off of golf.
And
And the more paths that are open up for people to make a living in golf, the more the sport grows. It can like, the fact that we've widened the lane from just tour golf to now people's eyes are being open to even just professions in golf. You know,
the industry writ large
the
is just
entire
exploded.
industry, club designers, pros that are
Schmucks
not
like you and
pro.
me.
Yeah, like there's just an entire now wide open range that's always been there, but people now see. That is the biggest growth of golf you can get. You know, and we're still using the names of players and like that's all still how we're doing it, but just is the Pandora's box has been open here.
And
Like,
and
if you wanna think about the way MLS has grown in the past few years because of the guys that they've signed and whatnot, it's also because they've opened up themselves to different thinking. Like, that's what the PGA is doing now. Like, we're this is a good like, in the next 5, 10 years, like, things are gonna be looking, I feel like, pretty different and bigger for golf
and I
as a
think
whole.
they're in some decent shape right now. If you look at the notes for the
Yeah.
Mexico Open at Vidanta, you know, one of the big notes is that, or two of the big notes, one of them is that you don't have a ton of folks already qualified for the Masters down there and some of these other signature events. So there's room for
Yeah.
growth there. But speaking of the signature events, there's reference to the Aon Swing 5. You know, they've got this
Right.
thing going now where, pardon me, and it's a step in the right direction where there's like this rolling, it's almost like your handicap. There's this like rolling
Yeah.
snapshot of who's playing the best, who's the top 5 not already exempt into these signature events. So let's
Mhm.
give them. So it's a great idea. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's going to be taken even like make it even a little more cutthroat is what we're going to see. I think, you know, where it's like, instead of that rolling 5, you have to show up the week before. Like,
Mm.
hey, you know, we're only going to let maybe 35 guys get guaranteed signature events, and it's only the top 30. That's what's going to happen, is we're going to keep shrinking that top, which is understandable. The competition gets more, the money gets more, et cetera, et cetera. So what do we do with the Mexico at Vidanta and the John Deere Classic and everything else that isn't necessarily a signature event? I don't know, get creative, bring, make half the field Corn Ferry guys. Start making some of those other kind of challenges where it's like, all right, if you are down there and if you're part of this top tier and you're playing in a middle tier event and you miss the cut, that's strike one. 3 strikes, you're out. You're down in the Corn Ferry. Like, make some live movement within it to make it interesting for the players. And then you have to lean into those stories, because once again, it's not that just organically we give a shit. We just have to know that it's going to mean something to them. And that's what the hockey thing got in. They want to play for their country. Golf, play for your country.
And that's what we need the broadcasts to tell those stories for us. So that's where it starts to blend into what we're seeing on TV and all that. And I think what they need to keep doing is exactly what they are doing. Like, we're seeing it right now. The change with the hammer rules on TGL, like that's an on the fly change. They heard what the players were saying. They heard what the fans were saying. They made an on the fly change. If the PGA continues to make changes like quickly as things are happening, as things are developing, instead of waiting 20, 30, 40, 50 years to make any changes, like they're gonna be all right. We've always said from the beginning, no matter what LIV does, no matter what TGL, anything else does, DP World or any other league out there or tour, PGA is going to be here. The PGA is going to be just fine. Now, how high they can go will be all dependent on how quickly they can adapt, because there's no such thing these days in modern society and in modern business as slow developing changes. You have to react fast. There's going to be misses, but it's almost to the point where, like, right now, a fan base or a community of people, as long as you try to change, they almost don't care if you fail to change. Like, sure, they'll give you some shit for a little bit on it, but they just want to at least see you try to change and adapt. So take the risk. You just got to take the risk at this point, fail or not, just go for it.
It's just about being genuine. People can connect with that, and because also when you're talking about the world of sport, you're talking about trial and error. You can't acquiesce to the loudest trolls on the internet. No disrespect.
They're out there though. Disrespect them.
You got swing. You got to take chances. Last year, PGA Tour, the Genesis, where the Spieth rule, guy goes, takes a shit, gets DQ'd. Now you got 15 minutes, which that is plenty of time, because if you make an infraction, the way we've seen it now, if you make an infraction on TV or it's caught on TV, by the time you get to the clubhouse, hell, sometimes it's 2 holes later, there's an official coming out there, Joe shit the rag man sitting there on his, on his keister point. Did you do that? All right, that's 2-stroke penalty.
Or even worse, the public opinion's already decided at that point. Forget the actual official. 2 holes down, the public's already made up their mind on you.
I mean, you might even have some of these guys might even have just somebody on their team following the crowd the whole time. Like, hey, just make sure I don't fucking, like, some rules nerd that they know they have on staff.
Guarantee you that's true. I have an interesting, maybe not interesting, but a thought here that I almost think that,
have a thought,
coming back to the TGL for a second here, I think it might have been a good thing that they had the arena collapse and get
100%.
delayed for a year. Like, I think now, like, looking at the way this has all worked out, looking at the way things have worked out with LIV, I think coming in last year actually would have been too rushed and too early. I think having this extra year for them, I don't think it necessarily changed much of how this is being produced in the play and how they function, but I think it allowed things to settle a bit so that TGL was able to enter this space standing on its own and not be a direct competitor to LIV. Like, it let the dust settle and people realize what LIV is, and let this be brand new on its own to give a fresh option for golf fans. Like, I think that roof collapsing was the best thing TGL could have had happen to them.
I said this the other day, and actually by the other day, I mean yesterday when we were watching.
That is the other day. So
that is science, technically speaking. That is the other day. But yesterday when we were talking about texting back and forth, watching the all-day TGL marathon, and I saw an exterior shot, and I said out loud, I was like, "That's the best fucking thing in the world," because A, aesthetically, it just looks like a big, coliseum, like a basketball arena. That's what it looks like, like anywhere else. And B, I just looked at it. The SoFi Center isn't the original planned home. It was supposed to be live in an inflatable dome Like one of
Right.
the, like
And that was where the issue was
I
with
just
the
think about
collapsing.
like and that's why you're saying like maybe they dodged a bullet here
Yeah, I think they
because
did.
while it is supposed to be a TV product, I mean, they had social media people going down there. They invited everybody in. Come on in. That would not have presented as well on inside the bubble. You know what I mean? No matter how
Agreed.
much you try to, we already have enough jokes about the bubble and LeBron's championship and the bubble.
Right.
So I agree with that take. Best thing that could have happened to them. Now they have a state of the art facility. Then I wouldn't even be shocked if we're not already there that you can rent it out, freaking bachelor parties and
Oh,
shit,
they
corporate outings,
100% are. They
events.
got to.
You have to
Well,
be.
that's the thing. This is on Palm Beach State College's campus, so like they have to have a deal in that to where Palm Beach State is able to rent this thing out and make a buck off of it. There's got to be a balance there. So this is 100% already be rented out by businesses, and it's perfect. Why not? You can rent out any hockey or basketball arena if you truly want to. Like it's all just a business.
Yeah, we're just a bunch of whores. Which is evident by the development of Live Golf. And so when the CEO of Live Golf, the new CEO, comes out and says, the best of the best, if you want the best, the world's best, it's evident week in and week out, looking at this scoreboard. And I think it was after Joaquin Neiman. No, Joaquin Neiman won.
He won this week at Adelaide.
I think it was after Adrian Marunk had won.
I know, which is like Adrian Marunk is like he's a nice player, but best of the best.
It also made me think, and the very first note that I took was Live was a consequence of us surrendering to hyperbole.
Yeah.
And again, careful what you wish for. This is what I was talking about earlier. We don't want best of the best of the best every week in and week out. That's bullshit. We say we want that because that we like the feeling of the Open Championship. Those things mean something. And so they're kind of, the clout's already built in. Same thing with the Players Championship. It doesn't rub me the wrong way at all that Bryson and Brooks and Joaquin Neiman and a couple others aren't going to be at TPC because there's a bajillion other overwhelmingly qualified golfers who have decided that they're going to test their mettle over here. Liv is going to struggle. I mean, we're going to see if they go anywhere after this year with, other than, like I said, maybe just focusing on Australia and trying to maybe just keep good Australian golfers down there. And then we'll keep an eye on the President's Cup and the Olympics, and we'll send one or two guys over to the PGA Tour. But it's no longer just automatically, if you're from that part of the world, you have to go to America to play pro golf. And that's fine.
Right. Which that's not a bad thing for golf as a whole. That's not.
But back to what you said earlier about, basically you need to be genuine. You were talking about just, taking chances and trying things. You need to be genuine. And to say that we're the best, everything's the best, this is the best day alive. It's because we're such fucking short attention span, dopamine addicted, freaks that, when they say, when we say, oh, we need a shot clock on the PGA Tour, that needs to speed up. Does it? I mean, it's it's kind of like the Nutcracker is a Nutcracker. When you go to the ballet, it's the same couple hours that it's always been. If you don't want to go to the Nutcracker, don't go to the Nutcracker. If you don't want to go watch tour caliber golf, because they do have the rules, enforce the current rules. I don't think speed them up.
I want to see that first. Before we add something new, I want to see that first. Enforce
but everything doesn't have to be the most magnificent, best thing ever all the time. It can just be what it's supposed to be. So Liv, if you're out there and listening, which we know you always are, just be what you are. Be world class, exciting, golf. Let's just call it that. It's world class, exciting golf. Don't try to say that you're a professional tour that is comparable to the DP World Tour or the PGA Tour or the Asian Tour. Right. You know how you're not is because you're kind of leeching off of them for life, for survival. They
are, because they keep bringing them up and tagging them, and it goes back to I don't know if you saw, I think it was just yesterday that
it's just a different product.
Posted a video of John Rahm celebrating, I think the team win or whatever it was, but there was a video of him celebrating champagne, whatever, with a big party, big crowd, whatever, and the post simply said John Rahm not thinking twice or not bothered at all by the fact that he dropped out of the official World Golfing's top 50. Okay, fine, good, awesome. Don't bitch about it. I don't want to hear the bitching. If you're now going to plaster that we don't care about the official golf rankings, don't bring it up in an argument.
It's the attitude. It's the kid who didn't get invited to the party. It's I don't care. I don't want to go in the first place.
Exactly. And it's it's little.
Are
That's
you
what
ready?
it is.
I'm
It's
gonna
belittling.
be I'm gonna be the easy troll. You mean to tell me that John Rahm is not one of the top 50 golfers? Of course he
Exactly.
is. He has the
Of course he
credentials
is.
for it. What I
No
mean
one
to
is
tell
doubting
you
it.
is he made a conscious decision to remove himself from the formula that established
Mhm.
himself as one of the top golfers on the planet. And now we
Exactly.
don't know where he sits in there. He's not number one. He's not number 50. He's somewhere in between. I'll give you top 10, maybe.
Just like
Actually, you know what? I'll give you top 20 right now because I don't know how
Cameron
much he
Smith.
might have slipped because he has not been playing consistently week in and week out. Tough
Yeah.
competition, tougher schedule, which does kind of come into account. We've seen what happens when
Yeah.
you are
It's
you're
attrition.
rusty. You're
It's
rusty.
all of that. And we saw it with Cameron Smith. Like Cameron Smith was a top 10, top 5 golfer in the world for about a year there. And then he made this move. And then what the majors that he has come back and played, he's missed the cut in most of them. Like it's nothing to write home about. Like this, it's a difference. I'm sorry, but like you're saying, the attrition of playing the schedule, the attrition of playing certain golfers week in and week out, that is factored into the formula, and that's why the formula is the way it is. As far as how many holes of golf you play per tournament, like how you finish, like the formula is the way it is for a reason. It's the same formula they gave us able to say Jack Nicklaus is as good as he is, and Sam Snead, all these guys, Arnold Palmer, all these guys, it's the same fucking formula that allows us to have these greats in our history books. And now we're just gonna snuff our nose at it because these guys chose to go on their own path and then they bitched about it. Like I'm not all right with that.
Nah, it's going to work itself out. And like I say, TGL is going to be the way forward because here you have an alternative that's safe. It's not a direct competitor with the PGA Tour. That way,
Right.
the PGA Tour can bless it and say, "Go have fun, guys." You
Yeah.
you don't necessarily technically have to. I don't know exactly what the membership bylaws are like with what they're allowed to compete or play in versus
Right.
what
I don't know.
whatever. But I do know they're not allowed to go to live without
Correct.
a release because there's no official partnership there with sharing talent or whatever you want to call it. Um, and so allowing these guys to play in TGL and showing that that's kind of the pathway forward for competitive golf on this side begs the question, you know, what's next with this PGA Tour live reunification?
Right.
And so we started with, if you want to back it up, we started with that we're not it's a merger. No, it's not a merger. It's much more of just it was much more of like an armistice. Let's just
A
stop
profit sharing deal. That's what it is.
yeah, it started with let's stop suing one another, and now it's kind of more so. I think the biggest storyline is nobody gives a shit about profit sharing. Like, yeah, figure out the money, guys.
Mhm.
What's about the talent? That's what they want to know. Who's
That's
going to be
not what
allowed to
it's
come back?
about.
Because we saw people like Rory McIlroy is like, yeah, not everybody. People are going to have to come back, and we're going to have to figure it out. It's not going to make everybody happy, And there's people who like Matt Fitzpatrick, who's like, fuck them, don't let him back. I wonder if he's changed his tune since then.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear that too. Yeah.
Adam Scott, who's on the player, who's one of the player reps, has said, and is very close to it, and even I don't know if he was there for the meeting with President Trump or if he was just in the room when they made the kind of like, yeah, it's moving forward a little bit more now. But he said that reunification of the players is the ultimate kind of thing that they have to figure out.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's really we're talking about like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Because that's the thing. Who's really coming back over? We've
Yeah,
said this
it's
before.
not.
Who's coming back?
So it's going to be I guarantee you it's negotiating those guys who wants to come back, what capacity. It's like Cam Smith might say like, fuck it, not worth it. I'm just going
Well,
to,
and that's the thing, because it's only 4 or 5 guys, it's
I'm
gonna
sure it's more than 4 or 5.
well,
I'm
sure,
sure it's like 20.
but I think it's gonna more naturally happen because it's not gonna be a big enough story in the end that it's constantly talked about. Like the media at first will draw it out as much as they can in these tournaments,
yeah.
but when they start to come back, like it's not going to be a big enough story that people are going to really care about it, which is going to trickle down to the players, like, and because they're going to feel less tense eventually, and it's not, no one's going to like give it a couple of years, and no one's going to give a shit.
And in the end, some of the guys Bryson might not even care to come back. Some of those guys might be like, you know what, looking at the timetable, I've got 10 years on the US Open. I got another 3 or 4. And as long as I can keep like, making good showings, yeah, who knows? And now that they have these now that they do have these new pathways to get into these majors, that is a little bit of a nugget to stick around for some of the folks who it's like, well, shit, yeah, there is a way for me to get into the majors through live, and though it's only one spot for each, that's appropriate because there's only 48, 60 guys, no, it was 70 guys now that that possibly could get in.
Right.
So
Now, do you see a question for you now? If so, say this whole reunification happens. That's what we'll call it. We're just gonna stick with the word reunification. This PIF deal happens, reunification happens, all that. Do you see a pathway here where part of the deal is that these guys that do have equity and live teams are allowed to also play on the PGA Tour, like get their tour card back, play on the
Talking about, like,
PGA Tour,
Phil?
but also have the equity in their team still over on Live, because it's kind of like, I mean, what we're kind of seeing with the TGL here. Yes, I know it's not Apple, it's different products. I get
Sorry about
that,
my ice.
but it's still at the end of the day a golfer with a business interest in something outside of the PGA.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they're settling right now is perhaps
Right.
if you have live equity, then you're excluded from any potential equity interest in PGA Tour enterprises, that kind of stuff.
Sure,
Like
equity,
you,
but what about playing though? Like they
first,
should,
I think that's what they're going to get
yeah,
back to is they're going to say, like, we understand that the purses have hit an inflection point. It's like again, we go back to, it doesn't make the viewers, doesn't make our
no,
socks roll up and down to see you win 4 or 20 or 15 million, right? We want to just see the
not at all.
competition, not necessarily the prize money. And so what they're going to do is they're going to say, all right, everybody can go play for whatever the prize of that tournament is.
Mhm.
What other implication that means, no, if you are part owner of the High Flyers, which is a direct competitor, yada, 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 we have to draw a line somewhere.
Right.
So sure, you get the winner's check, but maybe you don't get whatever that other kicker is or whatever the other incentives are.
And maybe they don't qualify for like PIP money or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some other.
Yeah, they
There'll
don't
be
get
lines drawn in there. You know?
Yeah, they don't get FedEx Cup points, but they maybe get invitations to those tournaments, that kind of deal where it's like they're
Mhm.
gonna kind of splice that out because Live isn't gonna go away. It is a landing ground
Right.
for the disenchanted, or we could just see a European growth. I could definitely see more and more Tom
Yeah.
McKibbins emerging because maybe the USA market is saturated, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it's so hard
It's
and
high right
competitive.
now. It's high right now.
Right. So it's like it's closer to home. I'm just going to stay over on this side of the pond. I'm going to play the DP World Tour events. I'm going to play on Live. And we see that growth, which is fine because I think with TGL and the alternatives that are being provided on this side, we've seen the way forward. The biggest fucking question mark, I mean, the overwhelmingly huge question mark is going to come when you do have somebody coming out with, let's say it is Tiger-esque. We have somebody who's coming out after, 2 US juniors, the US amateur,
Mhm.
Walker Cups, all this kind of shit. And he has all the credentials and everything in the world. And then just pauses for a minute. And it's like, and, they have 5 million subscribers on YouTube, this, that, and the other. And they know that all of a sudden it's a bidding war. Then it might become interesting. It's like, hey, who's
Mhm.
going to give me what? But until we get there, until that it like fully goes independent, the machine, the competition, the game is still bigger than the individual. The individual just has more leverage than they used to.
I agree, and I like I think we've both said from the beginning, I don't think it's a bad thing that the individual has leverage. That's not what we're arguing against here. I think there is a happy medium where this all lives in unison and just in this nice happy little golf world. And that the more opportunity is just the better for the game of golf, and that's what we'll get to. Quick update before we finish. Looks like Jupiter Link just lost 10-3 to I get and because we were talking, apparently there was a moment here while we were live that because we were talking I missed. Apparently there was a club communication mistake on Jupiter Link's part that had Tiger hitting the wrong club, like vastly wrong. So where he was told a shot was like 99 yards, and I don't know how long it was actually, but he came up extremely short. So that's another little wrinkle we might get here because we're dealing with these, these caddies, quote unquote, they're digital caddies, is I think is what they call them. That just stand at the screen and touch the screen and tell them the yardages.
Yeah.
Just another little wrinkle here, but
Well,
look, I don't care. We never even talked about yesterday. It's 1 minute. I'm going to quickly hear 1 minute.
Sure.
The TGL massive win yesterday. If whoever watched all 3 matches like I did yesterday while I was working, the entertainment value was through the roof.
Yeah.
Every match went down to the final. We had OT involved. We had hammers. All 3 hammers were thrown by every team, every match. We had ourselves an amazing day for TGL. It showed the potential here. And yes, I know we came back tonight with another blowout, which was the problem before they made the hammer rule. But I think these blowouts are going to be more far and far between. Tomorrow with the new hammer rule, yesterday with the new hammer rule is going to be much more the norm. It was electric yesterday, and guys like Minwoo Lee stepped right in for his first appearance. It was fantastic. I loved every second of it yesterday.
Man, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think they figured this thing out. It was electric, and I've been talking all program about what the game is looking for and what the players are getting out of it. The players. You nailed it.
They're loving it.
On the flip side, yesterday you saw what we could get out of it. The close, intimate relationships, the kind of guarded moments, the fuck ups, the jokes, the hammer. They figured that out, making it competitive. And I guess whoever was there on site was saying, like, the drinks were flowing all day. The atmosphere kept on getting ruckus.
Did you see Kevin Kisner in the production trailer at one point with a Coors Light can? He's just chilling. It was fantastic.
This is TGL. This is. Right. It is, it's the equivalent of like after a baseball game, instead of playing another baseball game, it's like, you know what, fuck it. Tomorrow we're just gonna go to the batting cages with some Sims, and we're gonna have home run derby for 4 hours, and we're gonna talk shit to one another. They have tapped into the bro side with a pro twist. And I think as long as they can keep tweaking, like we've been talking about, that's going to be the path forward, and Live will continue to find its place. But it's no longer a relevant variable, I think, with how the game is going to keep developing in the United States and on the PGA Tour.
Well, and what I think the biggest factor that we saw out of it, honestly, was that all these guys came directly off of the Genesis Invitational.
That's the best.
Most of them arrived Sunday night between 11:30 Sunday night and Monday morning at I think Ludwig said after his win he arrived home at 3:30 in the morning on Monday, and all these guys showed up on time, ready to go Monday for a different event of a different type, and that just shows how much they care, how serious they're taking it. But like you said, they're taking it seriously in a fun way, and that's what we're seeing.
The last bit, and then we can land the plane. So we started this thing talking about how the NHL tapped into the country, and we can't have a Ryder Cup every year. It has to be every other year, and even that with balance with the President's Cup. So we can't have these guys playing for their country all the time, because then that gets it saturated. So what TGL did, and we talked about how this was a huge whiff from Live, is when they decided to create teams, they found communities, they found existing populations of fan bases, and said, let's go into them and give them another team to root for, versus we're Legion 13. The fuck is
exactly
that?
No one is tied to Legion 13.
It does not matter. Now, if it would have been the Barcelona Fireball,
exactly,
then they would have, because I was a little skeptical at first. I was like, how are you gonna, these guys aren't even going to be in the city playing the sport, because I was thinking in the old school Live, this is a TV show.
Exactly.
And where is it?
It's on, and the key here is that the only, but here's the thing. Here's the other key thing here. It is the broadcast deal, because that's the thing that
they got ESPN, they got Marty Smith, they got SVP doing pre and post game. They got
So that makes it so available to all of these communities, like you're saying.
Yeah. All right, land the plane.
Land the plane, as always. I'm Andrew LeDuc. This is Bud Copeland. We are Divots and Pivots every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. You can catch us here on that Sports Podcast Network, presented to you by Acorn Hills. We love you. We'll see you next week. Check all of our socials during the week. We'll see you. Stay classy.